conflict in Ethiopia is escalating after government warned that it could deploy its entire defensive capability to Tigray after rebels advanced to neighbouring regions. Addis Ababa said rebels were testing its patience and threatening the ceasefire called in June. Now, two opposition political parties have called for a national dialogue as a way out of the crisis. To give us some depth and analysis on the story, we're joined now by Professor Mammo Muchie, Pan-African scholar at the Technical University of Tshwane in Pretoria. Professor Muchie, always a pleasure having you on the show. Let's just talk about what Ethiopia's government has said when, you know, they've essentially warned that at this moment in time, the rebels are testing their patience.
Yeah, I think what has happened is, as you rightly put it, there was a ceasefire that the government did in June, and the expectation at that time was that the Tigray People's Liberation Front leadership will also follow up, and then some kind of reconciliation pathway might be open. Instead, it became the opposite. What they did was they started saying that the reason the government withdrew from the capital city of Tigray was because they won. It's the victory. In other words, they said the federal army was defeated. They didn't believe it. They left because they wanted to support the people, and the season is the time when farmers have to farm and things like that. So that was the idea. So there was it's very confusing. So they didn't accept it, and then what did they do? They started moving into different areas. They went into what's called the Afar area, and then they also went to the other area called Walqait Tagade, this kind of areas, Humara, those areas. When they did, the killings again continued. And so it became a very complicated situation. And at the same time, for whatever reason, the American government also made a declaration saying that the Tigray People's Liberation Front, what is in the Constitution, they were set up in the Constitution, that region they have in these different parts should also be returned to them. So when they got support externally for what they are doing, and internally they started continuing the battles, and people start being killed. So for now, what happened, the latest one that everyone now is saying is that they went to the area called Lalibela. It's a historic area. It's, where in the ancient time, it's in the UNESCO, it's got a recognition, a global recognition. And it's more or less not just for Ethiopia, but for all of us as Africans, it's a great heritage. There's a lot of also manuscripts, ancient knowledge in it. Now, what people are saying is that the forces that were supporting it were forced to withdraw, and that the Tigray People's Liberation Front Army went to take it over. And there was a big problem, they said. Then when this happened, now what we heard is that the federal government is saying now they will go back again. They will have to start again the resistance. And also the regional area government also have declared that they are going to protect the historical heritage, the Lalibela and other areas, and Afar and all these areas. So what is happening is the conflict is there. So it's coming back again. The government is responding. They say they are forced to go back again to resist against this aggression. They said that the Tigray People's Liberation Front leadership continued to do. So the option would, there are two challenges. Challenge one, internal challenges, that the Tigray People's Liberation Front leadership is not agreeing to enter into a negotiation. And so the government is also now saying that if they are fighting us, then the only way we do is resist again. So there's a war going on. The other one that is extremely important is that the external world, especially in the western part, the America and others, are still supporting the Tigray People's Liberation Front side. And for some reason, the African Union is not active in this. So what I'm a bit worried about is that why the external world is now supporting these forces that are continuing to the war, and for some reason the government in Ethiopia keeps saying that they are not interested in the war. They were forced into the war. That's what they are saying. So
Professor, if you'll allow me to interrupt you there, you raise a very important question as to why there would be such backing of something that is really disastrous. We know that the Tigray ruling party has dominated Ethiopia's government for nearly 3 decades. A lot of people, millions of people's lives have been completely changed. Lives have been lost. Some are facing even a famine. And it really begs the question as to why. And the why also brings us to the future of Ethiopia.
You are completely right. What is happening is that, as you know, Ethiopia used to be imperial. Then from there we had the government that came, after the overthrow of the imperial government.
Yes.
We had Mengistu, which is a kind of military dictatorship based on Marxist ideas and so on. Then after that came the ethnic system. The ethnic division is very much, it's a neo-apartheid system, was imposed by the Tigray People's Liberation Front. And they basically try to be dominant everywhere. But they use the constitution. They crafted a very strange constitution that is really not acceptable, because it's very much reflects what has really taken place. Something like what is a, I'm not saying it's a copy of the apartheid constitution here, but it's similar. It's something like that's what they did. Now, what we need now, to be honest with you, is to create a democratic Ethiopia. As you rightly put it, also for all the partners, to come into negotiation, into dialogue, and come out with some approach where they even change the constitution and make citizenship, human rights, social solidarity, social justice to be. But what you are seeing now is from the Tigray People's Liberation Front, what they are now demanding is they want to create what they call the Greater Tigray Republic. They want to create their own. They want separation to take place. They are arguing like that. Some of the people who write, they write now saying that we should separate Ethiopia. So it's the worst thing that can happen is to separate a country like that. I don't think they will be able to do it. I don't think the people in Tigray also. I really believe that the majority of the people in Tigray, if they are given the opportunity, they will not say they will separate, because Tigray is the origin of Ethiopia almost. With it's the same history, the same people. Just because we have language difference doesn't mean anything. We're similar people. And the people are not the ones that are doing this. It's the politicians. And these politicians, their mindset is completely colonial. They really have, they value all the external ideas rather than their own African identity. They don't value that. So we need to really, all of us need to resist this division. We should not allow African countries to be divided. We should be all working to unite Africa. The United States of Africa is what we need to do. We really need to work very hard. All right? We need to also set examples. South Africa is doing it. You're struggling. I mean, even for you to arrest a leader, no African country has ever done such a thing. What I'm saying to you is that there must be justice. Some principle
Professor,
of justice is what we need.
You speak about what we've seen in the Tigray region and perhaps a warning of what the outcome could mean for the lives of people in that region. But government's reaction is it really a cause of concern? Because the Ethiopian government has warned that it could deploy its entire defense capability against Tigray. I mean, that sounds really aggressive, and one would imagine that it would mean more lives will be lost.
You're right. Any war is risky. And any war, who suffers in the war? The ordinary people. Mm-hmm. The people who have nothing to do, all right, with creating the conflict. They are just victims, the people. They get mobilized. Look at what they have done recently in Tigray, the Tigray people. They mobilize kids, children, 7, 8, 9-year-old. You know, it's against international law. Children below 18 should never be given weapons and war and become soldiers. They should go to school. They should be given pens and papers. That's what we have seen now. We have a very complicated situation. So as you rightly put it, if the government goes into this war, then who will be suffering? The people who should never suffer, the ordinary people. So what I strongly suggest is they should find a way to make sure that the ordinary people should not be entering into a humanitarian crisis. That should not be, growing the humanitarian crisis. They should find a way to address, to deal with, even if they have the conflict situation. What I like them to do is, for example, to protect, like Lalibela has to be protected. I mean, it's a historical heritage, and we don't want to lose all the history, all the document, many things that have happened. Even if things like that, they should be able to find a way not to make sure that the people are not affected strongly, that the humanitarian crisis is not coming with a war. I don't know how they can do it, but they need to resist and find a way to make sure that this TPLF leadership stops continuing this war. Some way should be found out. How they could do it, what I can suggest is that the African Union, we should try to find some African solution to this African problem. And also all the external backing they get. I'm pretty sure the reason why the Tigray People's Liberation Front leadership is fighting is because they get external assistance. All this assistance also should be addressed, found out, and then when people discover what they did, these forces that support them must also be told that this is not what they are doing. What they are doing is affecting the people. What the Tigray People's Liberation Front must know is that they are also hurting the ordinary people in Tigray. They are hurting the people, not just because the war must be stopped. Peace must come, stability must come, and then people should be given food and security, not weapons to be killed, and their children also to be soldiers. No, this is wrong. I think what they are doing to Tigray is very, very, very sad.
Thank you so much, Professor. Thank you for weighing in there and painting the broader picture of the impact of these tensions and the conflict set to escalate in Ethiopia, Tigray, as, of course, there is no mutual understanding on both ends. Professor Mammo Muchie warning that the people will suffer the most should this continue, really calling and asking the question, what will then it take for Ethiopia to achieve its democracy? Many questions, some solutions, but the big question there is whether or not implementation will take place. We can only hope so.